The Galactic Treaty Summit was a spectacle of light and arrogance. Species from over 200 civilizations gathered within the towering crystalline halls of the Celestial Accord Citadel. Towering diplomats, gelatinous philosophers, and biomechanical interpreters spoke in a cacophony of intent. Yet none held themselves with more inflated importance than the Zyyrati, a reptilian race of military monarchs. King Vorthax stood draped in ceremonial obsidian armor, laced with crimson filigree. His voice, like ground stone, echoed as he addressed the assembly. Let the humans prove their valor not with words, but through union. His scaled arm gestured toward his daughter, Princess Sorella, her golden scales dulled by ceremonial paint, her eyes lowered in quiet defiance. The room murmured. Everyone understood the insult. Zyyrati females, prized for their fertility, were symbols of lineage. Sorella had been deemed barren after countless failed tests. Offering her was the same as offering a broken weapon, decorative but useless. Commander Elias Ward rose, the dark blue of his uniform stark against the opulence surrounding him. Human eyes watched him anxiously. He stepped forward, eyes locked on Sorella, and said, "We accept." Gasps. Audible universal gasps. King Vorthax's ridged brow twitched. "You accept her?" Elias nodded. A daughter of a great empire offered in trust. Who are we to reject such a sign of unity? It wasn't just a speech. It was a blade, piercing the veil of mockery and turning it on its wielder. The wedding was arranged swiftly. Protocols were bypassed in favor of political theater. Cameras recorded every moment, broadcast across thousands of systems. Zyyrati nobles chuckled in private, viewing it as the first misstep of a naive species. Sorella stood beside Elias as vows were exchanged. She spoke her words in a neutral tone, more diplomatic than romantic. Elias, however, looked at her not as a pawn, but as a person. It disarmed her more than cruelty ever could. After the ceremony, they returned to Earth's diplomatic residence, a towering arcology of living metal and old oak aesthetics. Inside, Sorella remained silent for hours. Elias didn't press. He simply poured her a drink, one of Earth's calming teas, and left her in peace. She spoke finally on the fourth day. "You do not gloat." "Why?" Elias looked up from his tablet. "What would be the point? I am considered defective." He leaned back. "By whose standards? My people. And your people are wrong." She stared, puzzled. "Why did you accept?" "Because you're more than what they say you lack." In Zyyrati culture, such words had no place. Value came from utility, and Sorella had been cast aside. But humans, they had different eyes. News cycled for weeks. Commentators mocked, some humans included. Memes spread galactically. Ward's folly, one talk show called it. But while others mocked, Elias and Sorella began to work. Sorella, trained in Zyyrati military strategy, started assisting with human tactical simulations. She introduced new approaches to planetary defense, drawing admiration from Earth's generals. Slowly, her reputation began to shift, from barren outcast to valuable ally. Still, Vorthax refused to acknowledge her publicly. One evening, Elias returned to their residence to find Sorella staring at the stars. "He still sees me as a stain," she said. "Then let him see a stain that reshapes the canvas." Wordlessly, she placed her hand over his, a gesture not romantic, but deeply personal in her culture. Time passed. A border conflict erupted between the Zyyrati and a rogue synthetic hive mind. Humanity offered to intervene. Vorthax declined, publicly declaring that humans should not involve themselves in adult conflicts. Elias didn't argue. Instead, he began coordinating quietly with other neutral systems, offering defensive logistics, training programs, and resource support. Sorella spoke at a closed diplomatic panel, addressing emerging threats. Her insight stunned attendees. One Calari ambassador whispered, "She thinks like a human, but with a warrior's edge." Behind closed doors, alliances shifted. New respect grew, slow but firm. Sorella visited a human clinic on Mars one day. Their human scientists invited her to undergo an evaluation, not to test her fertility, but to better understand Zyyrati biology. Weeks later, the results changed everything. She's not Barren, the lead geneticist said. She's incompatible with ZY-Rotty males. But there's no biological reason she can't bear children with a compatible species. Her reproductive system isn't damaged. It's different. Word traveled slowly. When Vorthax heard, he demanded a private audience with his daughter. In a neutral chamber on the orbital station Nexus 4, he sat across from her. You knew? I suspected. Your scientists never look beyond their assumptions. His expression soured. You have allied yourself with them, these humans. I chose a man who saw me, not my womb. He stood. You shame your bloodline. She replied, No, I saved it. Back on Earth, Elias prepared for the next summit. Cirilla joined him, this time in uniform, not decorative, but active. A symbol not of union, but evolution. When they entered the Grand Hall, the murmurs were different. Not mocking, not amused, respectful, curious, uneasy. A new balance had begun to form. And the ZY-Rotty, for the first time in 1,000 cycles, felt the weight of humility. The king's mockery had birthed a future he could not control. And the galaxy watched and remembered. Section 2, The Awakening Storm. Purpose, escalate tension. Cirilla and Elias grow as partners. Humanity's underestimated power and philosophy begin reshaping galactic politics. Conflict brews. Betrayals and revelations set the stage for climax. Word count goal, 6,000. The galaxy didn't change overnight, but ripples had become waves. Where once humans were observers, now they were strategists. Where Cirilla was a discarded pawn, now she stood behind podiums, beside admirals above the whispers. Yet the ZY-Rotty Empire grew restless. King Vorthax, humiliated by his daughter's rise under human mentorship, enacted a quiet purge within his court. Generals who praised Cirilla disappeared. Scholars who questioned old traditions were reassigned. His reign tightened, but cracks widened. In a shadowed meeting room aboard Earth's flagship cruiser Resolution, Elias addressed a joint council of human and alien allies. We've confirmed it. The synthetic hive, designated Null Crown, is building subspace lances along neutral systems. Their expansion isn't random, it's strategic. Cirilla stepped forward, holographic star charts unfurling beside her. They're triangulating trade routes. If they complete this arc, they'll isolate 27 systems within a week. A Murati diplomat hissed an alarm. Then war is inevitable. Elias answered, Only if we let it come to us. Earth launched Project Firebreak, a volunteer defense initiative open to non-aligned species. It wasn't an army. It was a shield, one formed by logistics, strategy, and unity. Cirilla became its first commander. Under her, forgotten species found purpose. Outcasts, mercenaries, and idealists joined. She forged them not into a weapon, but a doctrine. Asterisk, we do not fight to conquer. We resist to preserve. Asterisk, when the Null Crown attacked the Bastion Verge colony, Firebreak was ready. The enemy's subspace lances fractured under coordinated strikes. Civilian casualties were minimal. For the first time in decades, the hive retreated. Galactic media changed its tune. Cirilla was no longer a mockery. She was a protector, but not all were pleased. Within ZY-Rotty space, Vorthax prepared a response. In the black chamber beneath the royal spire, Vorthax met with the old priests, the keepers of the primordial seed. Their deep truths were spoken. She was never barren. One rasped, The child born of this union will not be ZY-Rotty, nor human. It will be something new. A threat to the line, another said, to the purity of the Empire. Vorthax's gaze burned. Then it must not be born. He sanctioned Protocol Ashfall, a covert campaign to discredit Elias and assassinate Cirilla. Earth security forces intercepted fragments of the plan. The couple was moved to a secure base on Titan. There, Elias confronted Cirilla with the findings. She didn't flinch. He fears the future. That means we're winning. On Titan, beneath the blue haze of Saturn, Cirilla and Elias grew closer, not just in strategy but spirit. They trained together, shared cultures, debated philosophies. Where once she had been silent, Now she laughed. Where once he had been guarded, now he confided. One night, she showed him an old Zuwairati war dance, its purpose to honor unity before battle. They moved beneath alien stars, alone but not lonely. And in the quiet after, she said, "I was never meant to lead, but now I must." Elias replied, "Not must, chose." The null crown struck again, this time at Iross Station, a vital listening post. Firebreak's fleet responded, but something was wrong. The enemy had adapted. New algorithms predicted their movements. Sorella's formation fell into a trap. The Aegis Dawn, one of Firebreak's cruisers, was destroyed. Casualties rippled through morale. Sorella blamed herself, but Elias reminded her, "We don't win every fight. We win the war by surviving the next one." Together, they recalibrated. They stopped reacting and started predicting. They devised MirrorNet, a decoy intelligence system that fed false data to the hive. Within weeks, the tide turned again. Humanity's innovation, Sorella's experience, alien cooperation. It worked, all while Vorthax's spies failed. Each assassin sent was captured, every whisper drowned by the roar of progress. The final scene of Section 2 unfolds aboard the interstellar station Concord. Representatives gather to review Earth's proposal to formalize Firebreak as a standing coalition defense pact. Sorella speaks. "You once mocked the idea of a barren daughter and a naive species. But today, we defend your borders. We protect your trade. We teach your children. If that is weakness, then may your strength never find us in its path." Thunderous silence follows. Then applause. But in the shadows of Concord's grand rotunda, Vorthax's agent watches and transmits a final signal. The king will not be silent much longer, and the reckoning is near. The stars above Earth burn quietly, unaware of the storm gathering. Vorthax's fleet moved under shadow protocols, using cloaked subspace drives and siphoned relay networks. 50 war cruisers amassed beyond the Helios Rift. It was not a war. It was meant to be a purge. On Concord Station, Firebreak delegates celebrated the ratification of the Defense Accord. For the first time, over 30 independent civilizations agreed to mutual defense under a unified code. Born of human idealism and Sorella's leadership, they didn't know the Zuwairati Empire had already voted to dissolve the Accord with fire. Titan Base went silent first. An experimental Zuwairati stealth squad breached its outer perimeter. Elias and Sorella, on their way to Mars for ceremony, were diverted last minute due to a comms glitch, a glitch later found to be sabotage. The base fell, but the couple survived. Sorella refused retreat. Instead, she transmitted a message across all frequencies. The Zuwairati Empire has declared war on the future. Firebreak was forged to defend peace, not just from hive minds and pirates, but from old empires drunk on blood. We will not fall. We will not bow. We are the storm. The message went viral. Vorthax launches assault. Firebreak's fleet mobilized. Earth's orbital defenses activated for the first time in over a century. The skies above turned into a ballet of light and devastation. But humans had always been underestimated. The MirrorNet turned Vorthax's precision strikes into blunders. Old empires moved like titans. Humans moved like wildfire. Sorella personally led the defense of Ganymede's shipyard, holding off 3 Zuwairati dreadnoughts with a single carrier group and trickery, mined asteroid belts, cloaked drones, and heat ghost signatures. Elias took command of the orbital battle group. He coordinated fleets like a maestro, uniting species who had never flown together. Then came the Fold Rift. Vorthax himself emerged at the head of his personal dreadnought. His ship, Throne of Ashes, was 5 kilometers long, bristling with plasma lances and ion shears. He demanded their surrender. He offered terms: Sorella's execution, Elias's exile, and the dismantling of Firebreak. Elias responded, "We accept your surrender, old king." Firebreak's fleets unleashed coordinated strikes, disabling the outer ring of Vorthax's escort. But the dreadnought was too strong for direct assault. That's when Sorella made her choice. She boarded a prototype human Zuwairati hybrid vessel, Unity, designed in secret. the ship-fused Zeorati shielding with human warp agility. A symbol of everything Vorthax feared. Elias protested. She silenced him with a look. I was born of a throne. I choose a cause. Unity breached the throne of Ash's defenses, using old Zeorati command codes only she would know. It pierced the hull, disabling the dreadnought's core. Sorella confronted her father face to face. You have one last chance, father. Stand down. Let the Empire evolve. Or die clinging to your pride. Vorthax lunged with ceremonial blade. She didn't flinch. A single stun round from her sidearm ended it. The king of the Zeorati fell. Not to a warrior, but to a daughter. News spread galaxy-wide. The Empire declared a council regency. Sorella refused the throne. She endorsed a civilian senate instead, shocking traditionalists. Elias was nominated as Supreme Coordinator of Firebreak. He declined the title. We built this to protect the many, not crown another few. Months later on Earth, under a tree planted from Zeorati soil and earth water, Elias and Sorella spoke to a crowd of thousands. Behind them, a new monument. A circle of hands, human and alien, lifting a torch. We were mocked for seeing value where others saw waste, Sorella said. But humanity showed me something I never found among my own. Hope. Elias added, we are not powerful because we are flawless. We are powerful because we choose who we become. A child played at their feet, golden-eyed, scaled at the temples with a human laugh. Not a prophecy, a beginning. The stars watched and remembered